Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Unedited Chatter with Stephanie and Tisha. We are so excited about our speaker today, and we're so happy that you're here with us.
Unedited Chatter drops new episodes every other Wednesday. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. And the socials are listed in the show notes. This show is an independent production. The views expressed here are our own and not those of our professional roles or employers. This is our Unedited Chatter. Let's get to it. We are so excited to have Stefanie Hohl with us today. Stefanie is the creator of ABC, Hear, Do, an innovative phonics program that helps kids learn to read through movement and fun. As a literacy advocate, author, and educator, she's helped thousands of children develop a love of reading. Stefanie is passionate about making learning engaging, especially for active kids. We are going to share her website and her social media in our show notes. And without further ado, let's welcome Stefanie for Wiggle, Move, Learn, Why Kids Learn Best in Motion. Welcome, Stefanie.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me today.
I'm super excited, and I am the one that schedules all of these, and I was so excited that your title was Wiggle, Move, Learn, Why Kids Learn Best in Motion, because as early childhood teachers, we know that we need to have students up and moving and going. So I want to know just a little bit about your book, ABC, See, Hear, and Do. So tell me why that was a passion project of yours. What got you started? What are you excited about? I want to hear all of it.
Yeah. Okay. So I have 5 children, and I taught the first 4 to read. And, there's mixed feelings about that in the programs I was using. And then I had my youngest child, and he was just a whole new ball game. And there was no way he was going to learn to read with like the methods I had used with my older kids. And I just kept thinking there has to be a better way. There has to be something out there that is like made for him, who won't sit still, who doesn't want to listen, doesn't want to, the really active little boy. And I was actually getting my master's of education at the time in curriculum and instruction. And so I just kind of dove into that, into learning reading methods and how kids learn best. And I mean, I think we all know that kids learn best through movement. That's pretty obvious. But I just couldn't find a reading program that really aligned with that. That was like, I had seen one that was for preschool use, but I couldn't find anything that was meant for parents at home specifically. I also wanted to be a children's book writer. So all my worlds collided. And I decided to create my own method of teaching reading for my son. And it was like magic. It clicked so well for him that I was like, I have to share this with other moms and other parents, because this was a game changer for us. And he's about to turn 13. So this was, I don't know, over 10 years ago. And so it's
cool.
just grown, and it's helped so many kids, and it's just been really amazing.
So as a mom to 2 boys who didn't necessarily love reading, and struggled, had a time learning the process of reading. Talk to me about what this method looks like.
Yeah. So I tried to break it down into the super simple steps, because learning to read is actually a really complex process. And it's actually really challenging. It's not something that kids learn naturally. And so I think one of the biggest problems with learning to read is that kids get overwhelmed by it. And when they get overwhelmed, they feel frustrated and they don't want to do it anymore. And so I was trying to really come up with a way to fix that problem, as well as adding in the movement. So I broke it down. So each letter has an animal and an action that goes with it. So for example, the letter A, there's an ant, and you throw your hands up in the air like you're scared and you say, and for like the C, there's a cat, and you make your hands like claws and scratch and say, and so it's just fun and silly, and it's memorable. And then the other thing I tried to do with the program was I felt like there was this gap missing between alphabet books where kids are learning letter names, and then like an early reader, like a Bob book, where they're like expected to just be able to read this CVC word, a consonant, vowel, consonant word, but they haven't really learned like how to put those sounds together. And so I tried to bridge that gap by each word has the animal doing the action underneath each letter, so they can see, oh, I say this sound, then this sound, then this sound. So it kind of helps click in their brain of how to actually blend those sounds together to read words. And so it just makes the whole process fun and simple, and it's not overwhelming at all. And so kids they just love it and they want to do it. And then it continues. There's 7 levels in the program, from blended sounds to sight words to ending with irregular sounds, all those weird things English does. And then we have a lot of supplemental materials too, like coloring books, writing practice, early readers, flashcards, curriculum books. So, you can do everything sold separately. So you can just do one book, you can do the whole thing, whatever works for you and your child or your preschool class or whatever.
So that's so fun. So when you were doing all of that, so I kind of did something like that in pre-K, but I did it with sign language because that was my
Mm,
foreign language in college. So my
very cool.
students, when they would say the letter and say the sound, they would do the sign with it
Yeah.
because that was something that we just automatically did. So it's kind of the same thing with I
Yeah.
love that.
That's really similar. And actually the book for sight words, I used a lot of the ASL signs for those if it
Yeah.
existed.
I mean, it's so fun, first of all, and I haven't used it in so many years that sometimes I have to stop and think, but my students were signing words, they were signing sentences, they were signing their names, and the families really like that, so that's something cool just to add to it.
Yeah.
So,
See, I
yeah,
think so many teachers just naturally come up with ways to do this
um, I agree.
because you knew that the kids remembered it better. Um, and so I just tried to put that in book form. So,
Yeah, I
And
love
the
that.
and the
Yeah,
minute you integrate in the bodily kinesthetic approach that, hands-on, whether we're breaking down syllables or sounds or whatever it may be, that's imprinted more
right.
so in their brain. And I would imagine in development, you probably factored some of the brain research.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. You wanna speak
Yeah,
to that?
because when I have to pull out these stats from my brain, but I'm going to get these stats wrong, but basically, yes, when you're just seeing it and hearing it, it only uses a certain percentage of your brain. When you
yeah,
add in that movement, it like lights up so much more of your brain and it creates so many more neural pathways that's why it's easier to remember because more of your brain is being used.
right.
So yeah.
So how are people finding out about you? Do you present at conferences? I mean, like, if a preschool teacher did wanna do this or, try it out, how are you out there? What's your marketing
Yeah.
strategy?
Mostly Instagram actually is the
Okay,
biggest thing. We
great.
post a lot of ideas on Instagram, like crafts and sensory ideas and games, like ways just to make letter learning fun in addition to the books. We're on Facebook, TikTok, all the social media things. But yeah, I do a lot of podcasts. I do conferences. I do a lot of homeschool conferences. And I've actually just this year started doing a lot of teacher development. So I'm trying to get into that area to help teachers like professional development classes for
And
early
don't forget, all
education.
of her stuff will be in the notes. So if you wanna go there and look, we will share all of your social
Oh,
medias.
that's great.
So
Thank you.
that is great. Okay.
The strategies for teachers, are these something you mentioned homeschool? I'm assuming these are something that our families, because we have a lot of family listeners, can also listen and help support their young ones at home.
But yeah, absolutely. I originally designed the program for a parent to use at home with a child because I wanted something, I have 5 kids. I homeschooled some. It's crazy. I wanted something you could just pick up, use immediately. You don't need to do prep. You don't need to have a degree in anything. You don't even need to understand how kids learn to read. It's all right there in the book. You just pick it up and use it and you can use it for like a minute a day. Like I wanted something that would be that easy for parents where it's bedtime. Oh, let's just practice one letter sound, and you can follow your child's lead. But then it ended up that preschool teachers loved it and started using it, and speech language pathologists started using it. And so reading specialists have loved it. So it's just, it works for everyone, really, anyone that has an active child.
Yes, and they're all I'm just thinking about my nephew because same thing, I think that he gets frustrated on his reading. He can do it, but it is so much for their little brains, and sometimes I feel like we're pushing so much at them at such a young age, and I always tell my sister-in-law, "He'll be fine. He'll be fine. He's gonna learn to read." It just, it can get scary. So if you had one thing that you can leave parents or teachers or someone working with children with, what would that advice be?
My first advice is to not freak out, like you're saying, because I think parents do get really stressed out about this because reading really is so 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 important. Um, and that kids develop very differently. So, like usually I say, if they're not interested in it right now, just put it away and wait and try again in a month or 2 months, and they might be more developmentally ready at that point. And then the second piece of advice is to just add movement and try to create a literacy rich world in your home or at your school or wherever, where it's not something that's stressful or boring, but it's like, okay, we're driving down the street, we see a stop sign, there's an S. Oh, what sound did that make? Oh yeah, let's do the motion. It was this, that's like takes 2 seconds. But it's just that constant reinforcement of there are letters in our world and they make sounds, and let's talk about what sound they make. And so, because I think that those early literacy skills are so important, and I think people try to rush through them, and kids really need a strong base at that very basic level, because if they're not strong starting out, everything that builds on top of that is going to be a challenge. And so I always say, like, with our different 7 levels, like, they need to know the first level or second level like this before you move on. Because if they're struggling there, they're not ready to move on. Like, you've got to have that really strong foundation.
Right.
And when there's gaps in those foundational skills, it makes the foundation weaker, and then we do find gaps later in the learning and in the overall literacy process. So that's great. I
Exactly.
just want to highlight one more thing you said before we wrap up. You kind of alluded to the fact that we don't have to do this in addition to everything we're doing. We can embed this in what we're doing.
Oh,
So
yeah.
if it is going through, your daily routine, and you're just pointing out the phonemes, or you're pointing out the sounds or the letters or whatever it might be, that is really great to help form and formulate the foundational skills that you're talking about through the routine that you've already have in place. So this sounds like a great supplement for those routines. And I just absolutely am excited
Absolutely.
to hear that, Stephanie.
Yeah,
I love it too, and I
absolutely.
want I wanna say it one more time, so in case you missed it when we first started, it's called ABC, See, Hear, and Do. We will share all of her social media in the show notes, so make sure that you go there. Stephanie, I love this because I was one of those teachers who was always making stuff up because
Mhm.
you had to make sure that was the seeing, the doing, the hearing, the singing, the whatever you that's how they learn. So, thank you for being here and sharing this, and I think it's awesome.
Thanks so much for having me. I loved it.
Thank you.